It's your boy Yinka back here again. We're in a little video, a reaction. As I usually say, I'm not talking anymore. So let's go.
Real talk. I don't have a card collection. I don't drive cars. I don't do mountain climbing. I don't do parasailing. I like hanging out with people. And I had a party for my 40th birthday a year or so ago. And I remember at the birthday party, I was newly single because I had a girl for a little while. Didn't work out. But I remember at my 40th birthday party, I had a bunch of friends. People showed up. It was great. Shout out to Bodega in South Beach if you ever want to go. And I remember a friend coming up to me and being like, dude, Adam, you're 40, bro. You're killing it. You're making money. You're the freaking man. Like hyping me up, gassing me up, right? You know, this, that, the other. It's like, yo, I want to be you. I was like, all right, respect, bro. And he goes, oh, is that so-and-so over there? I'm not going to say her name. Oh, man, I remember her from high school. What's she up to? I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like, he's like, is she married yet? I go, no, I don't think so. He goes, man, feel bad for her. And I go, what do you mean you feel bad for her? And he's like, and essentially he was like, at 40, a guy, you could be like a stud or a pimp or whatever kind of. And at 40 for a female, he was like, wah, wah. Whoa. And that made me feel horrible for her. And it kind of was, because I felt kind of weird at 40, single, whatever, successful. But there is a difference between a guy who's 40 and a girl who's 40. Do you guys agree?
And that's just a harsh reality that people don't seem to face and they don't want to face. And especially females, they don't want to face it. Yeah, a guy at 40, as long as you've done the work and you've worked on yourself and you've gone to a certain status in life, yeah, you're seen as a stud. But a woman at 40, you've done the work, you've worked hard and you've got your career, you've got status, you're still seen as a failure in society's eyes, unfortunately, and that's just the harsh reality of life. It is what it is.
Do you guys agree or disagree?
Absolutely. Because at 40 for a woman, it's basically over.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, guys aren't...
As far as having kids?
Guys are having kids and like physically for most women, yeah. I mean, there's exceptions, sure, but that's not the rule. But as a 40-year-old guy that like, you know, if you're doing pretty well, like you could get married tomorrow with a 25-year-old, have 5 kids, and still have a whole life. That's just not the case biologically for women.
Yeah, that's true.
To be honest as well, which I have learned as well, biologically for men, it's not the most smartest thing as well to leave kids until you're older because your sperm quality goes down as well. Of course, we don't get infertile by the age we're like 40, but sperm quality does decrease as you get older as a man as well, biologically. So biology is telling both men and women to have kids young, in the 20s, in their early 30s. That's what biology is telling you, because both men and women do start to suffer when they get older. But yeah, in terms of the women getting older, they do suffer more than men do. Men could be a 40-year-old and he can get a young woman and then get a relationship, not just for sex. Because women, yes, they can be 40 and get a man just for sex, but it's not for relationships.
Comments?
Yeah, I think it's sad. And also, in some way, I think it's embarrassing for women that are put in those situations, because how do you make it to 40 and not learn how to get along with a man? How do you make it that far and you just never pick up on cues? And sometimes these women have children, and that's great. And, you know, sometimes they don't have a man, but sometimes they don't have either which one. They're just absolutely by themselves. And so, like, is that a full life? Because so they have girlfriends, that's great. But are all of those girlfriends single? Or are they also, like, married with children, or they have professions? It seems lonely to me, and I think women come out and they try to say that it's not, and I think it's a cope. You can see it on the TikTok pages. Like, look at me, I'm so happy, I'm drinking wine, and I'm 40, and I'm single. Well, if you're so happy, why do you have to make your entire TikTok page and your identity
I'll tell you,
about that?
I'm not going to say this girl's name, but I'll give you a very clear example of someone that every time I'm like, damn you. She was one of the hottest girls in high school. Grew up, you know, in her 20s, guys were throwing themselves left and right. She had her pick of the litter. By 30, she was still out there in South Beach doing her thing, still didn't have a man. And then I didn't see her for many years, right? I think she lived in New York doing her thing. But then I ran into her, I don't know, maybe like 3-ish years ago. And she was in her late 30s, early 40s. Now, the dude that she was, like, the guys that were pursuing her, certified studs in their 20s or whatever. Now, essentially, she's like, hey, what's up with your friend over there? And, like, this guy, I wouldn't say he's a stud. So now, the girl who was 21, 25, even 30, that had her pick of the litter, has to realize that at 40, the studs aren't exactly throwing themselves on her anymore. Well, that's something that a woman had to deal with. And I felt like so bad. I was like, and I told the guy, because I'm friends with the guy, because he was like, what's up with... I was like, dude, you don't understand. In high school, college, she was like the hottest chick. He's like, yeah, but that's 20 years ago, bro.
And that's the harsh reality that they have to face. And me personally, I do not have any sympathy for especially a girl who had men throwing themselves at her when she was younger. I don't have any sympathy for that type of woman if she reaches the age of 30 or 40 and now she can't find a man, and now you're finally going for the one who's not really a stud, but in your 20s you are getting all of that. I don't have any sympathy for that type of woman because she had options, and there were definitely some decent options in those options that she had, but she chose to have her fun, as they do, and live her life. And now you are truly living your life.
But why did you feel bad for her? That was her choice. She
I hear you.
She made her bed, lie in it.
I didn't lose sleep over it, but I constantly think of it because these are, now that I'm 41, I know girls in their late 30s, early 40s who are still single, and I'm like,
I have a question.
Go ahead, Coco. I don't know if I struck a chord there, but go ahead.
No, it's for them.
She's 31. She's not 60. Okay?
No,
Not at all. Coco's a high.
I do not care about being 40 and whatever. Question for them. Would you, let's say if you get a divorce, would you consider that as defeat? Like,
What kind of a stupid ass question was that? Would you consider divorce as a defeat? You lost. The literal purpose of a divorce is that you could not complete or have a successful marriage. So you lost. You failed. Defeat. End of. The fact that you're asking that question to me is crazy. A whole grown woman is asking the question as to whether a divorce is a defeat. Well, these are grown people. That is a total loss, my sis. You lost. To the person that you so claimed you would be with forever, you decided to end it. You lost. You not only didn't keep your word, you lost. You broke that. And you're asking that type of question. That is crazy to me.
like you didn't.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You should be upset. I am divorced. That's a ding on my record. That is a failure. I failed. I mean, he also failed. You know, I'm not bent out of shape about it because I got the man of my dreams. But you should look at divorce as a failure. I don't know why you wouldn't.
Yeah.
You chose poorly, and now you've wasted each other's time.
Interesting.
Would you say it's a failure if you were able to give birth to children and like your children ended up in like a good place and they have a successful future?
And this is what I mean a lot of the times. Women are very manipulative at times. That's a total separate question. The first question that I was asked was, do you consider a failure if you divorce? Yes, the divorce is a failure. And then you're talking about kids. That's totally separate. You had kids, that's cool. You got kids from that and they became successful. Yeah, they were a success. But the divorce itself, failure.
In the sense, like, for example, like you have people who get married and then they find out this other person is not who they are, right? And then kids come out of it.
Right.
And the kids turn out great, successful and all that stuff. Would you still say that it was a failure, or would you say that it's a success?
No, it's still a failure. It's beautiful that the children are here. Most parents don't regret their kids that innately, but it is still a failure. You chose poorly, you reproduced. Now these children don't have a father in the home, but we're so used to it, we think that it's okay, but the outcomes are still negative. Like I grew up in a single mother home. I had a lot of risk factors that I had to solve myself in the dating market. And that's something that doesn't get talked about. It's all about this eat, pray, love. And that's not to say, you know, stay in a relationship and be miserable, but sometimes you got to make your bed and lie in it, and you got to be roommates.
Well, because when you have kids, it's not about you anymore.
But yeah, that was an interesting video. Interesting reaction again. As I usually say, like the video as much as possible. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe. Comment down below. Let's get a discussion going down below. I reply to all comments. Follow me on Instagram at YouGetThatGuy. And we out.